In. Let me see. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Win the Day I almost said Win the Beach. Win the Day podcast, where we talk about how to win the day. Right? You string enough days together, you get a week. String enough weeks together, you get a nice month. String enough months together, you get a year. Get enough years, you got a great career, which is really super cool. So that's what we're going to talk about: how to win the day. Hope yesterday was awesome. Great, awesome. Hope tomorrow's even better. Today, though, we're going to talk about how you're going to win today. All right. I'm going to talk about it just for a quick second here. And we've been talking about it before you got on here. We've all heard less telling, more selling, right? And that comes from asking questions. We are so caught up in verbalizing our resume to potential buyers and sellers that we don't take a breath to hear what their wants and needs are and to see if they match up with our skills and capabilities. And therefore we lose, right? I use the example, why should I hire you? Well, what do you mean? Well, why should I hire you? Well, I'm going to get your place sold, or I'm going to find you a place. That's what the last guy said. Why should I hire you and not them? Oh, because I'm cheaper, right? That's the fallback. Because I'll do it for 2%.
Yeah.
Right. That's a bad situation. It doesn't have to be.
The value proposition of a rookie is cheaper.
I've seen a lot of seasoned agents fall into that. But the better answer is an ask. I don't know if you should hire me, and I don't know if I'll even take the listing. Can I ask you a couple questions about your goals for selling? We got a pro here, right? Yeah, cool. All right. If you sell, where are you going next? I just got, what's your motivations? It was basically, where are you going? I don't know. I don't have to sell. Cool. If you do, though, you cashing out, you reinvest, or you're moving, you're going somewhere else. I'm moving to a different city. Oh, nice. What's up? What's in the other city? Why are you moving? New job, right? This is motivation, pressure, right? Yeah, I got a new job. I'm retiring. I'm whatever. Oh, okay. And you're buying another house there? Yeah. Okay. Do you have to sell this one to buy that one? Right? All that conversation that occurs. You start asking those questions, and it's just drawing them in, and you in, right? And pretty soon you're dancing together, close, cheek to cheek, right? And you're understanding what they're trying to do, and they're understanding that you're understanding what they're trying to do, and that's a good thing. When you know that your helper understands your problem, it's a good thing, right? Because then you feel less like you're being taken advantage of, right? Like, I bring my car in to get fixed. It's making a weird noise. I wonder what that is. Oh, shit, right? I want somebody to say, you know what? Here's that noise. You got this, this, and this going on. We're going to fix it by doing this, this, and this. When should I stop back? But when they're like, yeah, that's a weird noise. Oh boy. All right. Or, you're not feeling well. You go to the doctor. I'm not feeling well. Huh. That sucks. Yep. It does. What do you think? I don't know. And then if they don't ask you any questions, you get
anxious.
Yeah. It's like, oh boy, why aren't they asking why I'm having a hard time breathing? Why are they asking me about my ankles? Yeah. Look at your ankles. Yeah. But my breathing. And if they tie it back, well, okay, good. Thank you for asking about that. Right. So I don't know. Ask questions is what I'm saying. And you'll find that the best anybody's are question askers. You know what I mean? That wasn't intended. That's just a question I ask. So you need to get good at asking questions. And the question I have here is, how do you practice asking questions? Anybody know? Anybody have a way they do it?
I think a great assignment is every day sit down, or every week sit down and say, I'm going to write down 50 questions. There was a professor at the college that I went to who would talk real slowly, and I won't do that. Otherwise I wouldn't finish a sentence before this is over. But he would say, if you want to get good at drawing trees, draw trees. And if you want to get good at asking questions, practice asking questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I'd also tell you is get curious.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You just simple curiosity will be, think of your kids. Why do you do that? Why is it like that? Well, I mean, unbelievable to you. Please stop. I don't know why. Go ask mom. Right. But it's perfect because it's not because they're trying to bug you, I hope. But it's more like, they're curious. Why is it like that? And they keep going until you tell them, and they get satisfied with the answer, right? But
John, I would say in addition to practicing and writing down questions, you want to isolate what are the most important questions, which you basically alluded to, and what's the motivation. Because when you start by asking questions, it becomes easier to listen and to know what to say next. And the person who comes in and this just launches into their presentation and why you should pick me doesn't know enough to answer the right questions.
Yeah.
You might be answering the wrong questions when you just launch into a presentation. Another thing I would say is a good way to learn what to say, what not to say, is to practice with other people. Go on a listing presentation with somebody else and watch them, or practice in a room when you just role play. Because when you do that, you'll have answers and questions in your mind that you should write down, because it's easier when you're not on the spot and you're not feeling the stress and anxiety to see a pattern of good questions to ask.
awesome. Here's another way. What if you get a script?
Yep.
I'll guarantee you those scripts are full of questions. Absolutely. And if you learn the scripts, you're going to be good at asking questions. You're just going to fall right into it.
Yeah, and you have to have if you have the scripts mastered, they will naturally come when you need them. But you have to have 2, 3, 4 of them absolutely perfected, mastered. But then watch other people, because every conversation's different.
And everybody's different at delivering them. You can take a great song and have different singers sing it, and it comes out differently, same words.
I think equally as important to asking questions is listening to the answers. Be in the moment. Don't just be so focused on asking the questions that you're not listening to the answers. If you'll learn to just pause and listen, and then be curious about the answer and keep being curious about the answer. I mentioned the best question in the world is the awe question, and what else? And a lot of times people just have their questions and they don't have ears. And that's just
Well, I was
And
terrible.
everybody wants to be heard. What's
Well,
that,
yeah,
Jeff?
it was so bad, and I know newer people on listening to this or get to see this. Believe me, when we started too, my ears rang so loudly, the other person's mouth was moving, and I didn't hear a word they said. I was trying to think of what I was going to say next, right? We've all been there, so just work through it.
Well, and you heard John just a few minutes ago, he naturally falls into scripts, and you don't know their scripts, but he has them so mastered. And I think you said this it was yesterday, John, that if you have those scripts mastered, it's so much easier to listen, because you're not practicing an exact order of what to say next. You get phone calls every day with someone who has a script, and they say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so from such and such. How are you doing today?" And I'll say, "I'm doing well. How can I help you?" And they'll go on to the next thing in their script. "That's good to hear, blah, blah, blah." And they're on a script. You have to learn not to exactly follow the script, but to have it exactly mastered so that you can relax and listen. Because the most important thing you can do in any presentation is listen.
Perfect. I actually got asked this: how do you practice asking questions? Because I got an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 23-year-old, all within 3 months of starting their real estate careers. And they're not real good at asking questions, as you can imagine. So I'll ask them how to go, and they'll tell me. I'll ask them deeper, probing questions. And I remember the one gal just said, "Were you always like this?" I'm like, what do you mean? Good looking? Yeah. And, no, that's not what I said. That's what I was thinking.
No, it's, I
You wouldn't
remember.
ask that. I mean, why would you ask such an obvious question? But I said no. It came from practicing, years and years of practicing.
I remember you had it written on your computer.
Mhm.
Slow down.
Yep.
Mhm.
Slow
You
down.
had
Follow the
notes to
script.
yourself. You had the
Yep.
scripts written all on the walls. Remember
Yep.
that?
Yeah, I do, without question. So, but it's weird because now, even a few weeks afterwards, I'll go in and I'll talk to them, and they're coming around. The questions are coming, and naturally, not in some halted, weird way. They are going deeper, and they're getting better results. It's really cool because it's a growth evolution process. Destiny, are you finding that? Because I think you're pretty good at this naturally as well.
Yeah, I think, I love being on the phone, so it does come natural to me, but it's taken practice for sure. And like you all say, I have a script, and there's a lot of times where I'll have a sticky note sometimes, just like you said, that says slow down, take your time, breathe, not to get so excited. That's how I was when I first started these calls. I would just spill it all out and I wouldn't listen. And so now I have those questions that I normally ask, and it's on a sticky note. So I know I can reference as I'm talking to people. And a lot of times I find they tell you everything you want to know if you just be quiet and let them talk. So
Oh yeah, they'll talk.
I've learned to is just shut up sometimes and let them speak.
Yep. They want to be heard. They want to know you hear them.
Mhm.
Couple things. Victoria Pope's on here and she's actively listening. I love that. Love that. But here's what I want to talk about. Jesse, South Dakota, just moved. I'm from North Dakota originally. That's north of South Dakota for those that are good with geography. You'd be surprised how many people. I remember at spring break one year, I met this young lady, cute. I told her it's from North Dakota. She's like, I don't know. Where is that? Is that north or south of South Dakota? I'm like, okay,
Next.
you'll be fine. Anyway, different time in my life. So you're in South Dakota trying to figure out to start a new location. How cool is that? Right?
She's
What
in
an
Huntsville,
opportunity and what a
Alabama.
challenge.
Okay.
What's that, Julie?
She's in Huntsville, Alabama, just moved from South Dakota. She wanted to get
Okay.
warm.
All right. Same thing then. You're in Huntsville from South Dakota. Okay. They don't have the same Mount Rushmore in Huntsville, but they do have rockets there. Are you in the science? Are you in space? Isn't that where Huntsville is? Space Academy. Very cool. Either way, you better get a shirt with a big A on it.
Definitely.
You're going to wake up one day and all your clothes are going to have an A on it. It's weird how it works. Any rate, cool. So you're moving to a new city. What did you guys tell her to do? God, I love this. Totally love this. Roll Tide. There it is. Love it. So here's what you do. I'm going to tell you, and I think we talked about this yesterday. You can go back and look. If I was moving to a new place, I would go and find out where properties are selling, neighborhoods. I'd look at the price point because selling expensive stuff's the same as selling cheap stuff. It pays better though. And I'd make sure there's enough transactions occurring such that I could get my market share without having to knock off one person who has 80% of the market share. I'd study the market trends. You can get that from the MLS. I'd preview every damn house listed for sale in those places, find out who the owners are, go to the public record, and I would contact them by phone, by mail, by social media, text if I had that, knocking on their door till I knew who those people were, and I'd have a database of potential business.
One thing I would add to that,
Take a
John,
minute. What's that?
one thing I would add to that, and you said this, make sure that there's not a dominant realtor. You know, if they have over 50% there, you see their stuff all the time, they're just adding a layer of difficulty. But if you live in a nice neighborhood and you like the price point, it's really a lot easier to be familiar with your own area and to market to that area, because you're going to naturally learn all the things that people want to know. You know, where's the retail, where's the hospital, what are the schools like, what are the boundaries, all the things that you need to know, that the questions that people ask, you'll naturally learn. if it's your own neighborhood. So if that's a good high turnover or at least decent turnover and there's no dominant realtor, I'd start there.
Hey, let me ask you some. Have you ever moved before? Is this the first time from a professional level where you're starting up your career again, or is this something you do? You know what I mean? Because maybe you got to figure it out. You've been in business 20 years, so you know the basics. That's really cool. Now you just really got to learn the lay of the local land, which is pretty neat.
John, I would say to get into open houses as well. Start hosting open houses in your neighborhood. I've got a realtor that has dominated our neighborhood. He's moving, so I'm getting ready to take over. So I'm hosting an open house in the neighborhood to just, like Julie said, farm the area. I think that'd be great for her as well to do open houses.
And open houses are the fastest, easiest way to have a lot of recognition. Don't do 2, 3, 4 signs pointed to your open house. Do as many as possible.
Right.
You know, get 20.
And stay in that geographical area
Yeah.
so that over time you are highly recognized.
Right.
And with your open house signs, get open house signs that have your name on them so that every sign is a billboard of you. And if I prefer pictures on the signs of that's because that's your brand. That'll get you going really fast, and your big investment will be a bunch of signs.
There you go. They don't like you bugging them. Fair enough. That means most people are going to have a hard time. Send them letters, do open houses, draw them to you, become attractive, and they'll come to you. You don't need
Open house signs are mobile billboards.
Until they're stolen.
That's why you put your name on them.
For
With your
Pete's sake,
phone
I'll
number
give them
on
back.
the sign. All my signs are custom. They have my name and my phone number on them, every one of them.
Right.
All mine have Julie's picture and my phone number. I love the challenge that you have there. 20 years of experience is a master level experience, which is really cool. All you got to do is learn the local market, study it, and you'll be #1 team Alabama. Boom. There you go. So you got a lot of ups. I would learn that market inside and out, and I'd start talking to people about how much.
I would get a Mojo dialer, and I would start dial and get a neighborhood search and just dig into the calls, because that way you can cover more territory, find that area, and just make those phone calls over and over and over again.
You'll be
Explain
fine.
Mojo Dialer, Mark. A lot of people don't know.
So if you go to mojosells.com, it's a dialer, and you can do a neighborhood search, much like you can do.
It's an automated dialer. It's dial 3 phone numbers at once. You answer the one that answers. Right?
Yeah. You can do $1 or 2, 3 lines. But the key is just like in the MLS, you can search an area. You can do that, and it pulls out all the names, and you can scrub for do not call. You do not want to call people on the do not call.
Do not call people.
Have those conversations. And I know Destiny has about a $1.4 million swing that came up from just circle dialing in an area, a sell and a buy just by calling into an area.
Yep, you can do it. Here's the thing. When you start doing it, though, make sure you ask the questions, right? Get a script. It could be Mike Ferry script, could be a bold script, could be Buffini, could be, who's the others? I mean, there's so many out there.
I like the Mark Simpson script.
The Mark Simpson scripts, right? Andrew, say something smart. Thank you. Next.
Hey, appreciate
God, I
that.
love that.
My takeaway for the day, we talked about script, we talked about asking questions, but we hadn't talked about knowing your audience. Utilize the disc. That for me was a breakthrough. Learning the disc one of the very first year I was in the business, went on an expensive listing appointment, and I was talking my way out of the listing. I just kept talking and selling, and I didn't listen. I could have figured out, many years later, I figured out he was a high D. All I had to do is push in the paperwork and tell him to sign it, and he would have done it. And almost walked my way out of that one. So study the disc, know your audience.
Yep. Very cool. That is smart. That is smart. Good for you. Good for us. So there you go. We're at 8:19 to win the day. I'm going to tell you something. Well, I'll even ask it. To win the day, what if you got better at asking questions? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Anybody else want to add to that?
Choose one thing. Of all the things you've heard this morning, choose one thing and focus on that. Get good at it.
Send Jesse your referrals to Huntsville. Anybody moving to Huntsville, send them to Jesse. I hear she's got 20 years in the business. Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, all right?
Very
Hi,
good.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
in the